Lower your cholesterol in 12 hours with this drink that can save your heart. Sounds like a miracle? It's actually science, and it all starts with a simple glass of warm water. Did you know that cholesterol can rise silently for years without showing a single symptom? And that the first signs might just be fatigue, dizziness, or a slight change in your mood. There's a way to clean your arteries without meds, without extreme diets, and without sweating buckets. A simple routine that kicks your liver into gear, wakes up your metabolism, and transforms your blood, first thing in the morning. In this episode, one of Japan's top experts in preventive medicine reveals the real culprits behind high cholesterol, and no, it's not just fat. The natural ingredients that act as a cardiovascular detox. A morning ritual that could completely change your health in the coming days. And the 12-hour protocol that's revolutionizing the way we care for our hearts. If you're tired of feeling tired, if you want to prevent problems before it's too late, or if you simply want to start a new chapter in your health, this episode is for you. So welcome to another episode of the HealEssence channel podcast. Dr. Haruki, it's crazy how high cholesterol can live inside someone's body for years without showing a single clear sign. No pain, no fever, no visible marks. Most people only find out their levels are high once their cardiovascular health is already seriously compromised. Why does it act so silently? And what exactly is going on in our arteries when cholesterol starts to build up?
That's a great question. And indeed, this silent characteristic is what makes high cholesterol so dangerous. What happens is a buildup of fatty plaques, called atherosclerotic plaques, along the inner walls of the arteries. This process happens slowly, often over decades. At first, the body even tries to fight it off, but once inflammation sets in, the process speeds up. It's like an internal corrosion that spreads quietly, without warning.
And those plaques start narrowing the space where blood can flow, right? I imagine it's kind of like a pipe that gets clogged over time. But instead of water, we're talking about blood, which can directly affect how the heart, brain, and other vital organs function.
Exactly. As the arteries narrow, the heart has to work harder to pump blood, which can lead to high blood pressure. On top of that, those plaques can rupture and form clots, drastically increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. The real problem is that the body only complains when the damage is already significant. That's why prevention is key. We can't wait until we feel something to take action.
It's like a biological time bomb. And what's most surprising is that a lot of people blame high cholesterol only on diet when there are actually other factors involved: genetics, lack of exercise, stress. Seems like it's way more complex than just avoiding fried food.
That's right. Lifestyle as a whole plays a huge role. Genetics might predispose someone, but habits are the real triggers. Sedentary people, those who eat lots of sugar and processed foods, sleep poorly, and live under chronic stress, they end up inflaming their bodies, which makes it easier for LDL cholesterol, the dangerous kind that forms plaques, to oxidize.
So cholesterol itself isn't really the villain, but rather what happens to it when the body's inflamed or out of balance. That totally changes the way we see the problem. It's not just about cutting fat, it's about treating the body as a whole.
That's a much more modern and accurate view. It's not enough to just look at a number on a blood test. We have to understand the context, how the liver's doing, how digestion's working, what that person's daily routine looks like. Cholesterol is just a messenger. The real enemy is chronic inflammation. That one's silent and systemic.
That's interesting because a lot of people see high cholesterol as a sentence, when in fact it can be a warning sign, an invitation to change. And with changes that are totally doable, right? Nothing extreme, but still with deep impact on health.
Yes, and the most encouraging thing is that the body has an incredible ability to regenerate. By adopting healthier habits, the liver improves its function, circulation becomes more efficient, and even plaques can be stabilized. That's why information and action are our best allies.
Great start, doctor. Understanding what happens inside changes how we take care of ourselves on the outside. Let's keep exploring these signs and solutions, because prevention is still the best medicine. Dr. Haruki, in the last chapter we talked about high cholesterol as a silent enemy. But in some cases, the body does try to warn us, just in a very subtle way. Fatigue, dizziness, shortness of breath, signs we usually blame on stress or aging. Why does the heart speak so softly when it's suffering from high cholesterol?
Because the heart is an extremely resilient and adaptable organ. It manages to keep blood flowing even when the arteries are partially blocked, compensating for the difficulty with more effort. That means symptoms only appear once there's already a considerable reduction in blood flow. Fatigue, dizziness, or mood changes are signs that the body's operating at its limit.
That's scary because a lot of people think they only need to worry if they feel chest pain. But in truth, the first warnings can be way more subtle, almost imperceptible. I can imagine how many people live like this without realizing they could be on the verge of something serious.
Exactly. One of the most important things I teach my patients is to pay attention to changes in their own bodies. For instance, if climbing stairs suddenly feels harder than before, or if your mood's been unstable, that could reflect low oxygen levels in the brain caused by reduced blood flow. These signs shouldn't be ignored, especially in people with risk factors.
And those risk factors include not just high cholesterol, but also high blood pressure, inactivity, smoking, and too much sugar, right? Sounds like a multi-factor scenario where problems pile up and create the perfect storm.
Exactly. It's like dominoes. One thing triggers another. High cholesterol narrows the arteries, which raises blood pressure. The rise in pressure then overworks the heart, and all of that can even affect brain function, since the brain relies on constant, efficient blood flow to work well.
So small lifestyle changes could not only prevent, but even reverse part of the problem before it turns critical. That's hopeful. It shows there's a real way back, even once the warning signs have appeared.
Exactly. Eating better, gradually moving more, sleeping well, and reducing stress. All of these strengthen the heart and improve circulation. And of course, regular preventive checkups. Many times, a simple blood test reveals changes before they cause any serious symptoms.
It's impressive how the body gives us clues, but it's up to us to listen. Sometimes it's not that the heart speaks too softly, but that we don't pay enough attention. That awareness can save lives.
No doubt. The heart has its own language, quiet, but very clear if you're paying attention. And the sooner we catch those signs, the simpler and more effective the intervention is. Prevention is still much easier than treating an emergency.
Dr. Haruki, the word cholesterol gives people chills. Just hearing it makes them think of heart attacks, strict diets, and fear. But I know there's a more balanced view on this topic. Is there really such a thing as good cholesterol? And why is it so important for our health?
Yes, there is. Cholesterol is actually an essential substance for the body. It's involved in hormone production, vitamin D synthesis, and forming cell membranes. The issue isn't cholesterol itself, it's imbalance. HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, helps remove excess LDL, the bad cholesterol, from the arteries, taking it back to the liver to be eliminated.
So it's not about cutting out all cholesterol, like people think, but about finding balance. I think a lot of folks still believe that all fats are harmful, which leads to restrictive diets that aren't necessarily healthy.
Exactly. Demonizing cholesterol or fats is a mistake. In fact, diets that are extremely low in fat can actually harm HDL production. The key is eating good fats, like those found in fatty fish, avocado, olive oil, and seeds, and staying active, since exercise is one of the best natural HDL boosters.
That's interesting. So instead of cutting foods, people can make choices that actually help their HDL levels. That shifts the conversation from restriction to building a healthier, more functional lifestyle.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering that LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, also has a function. It carries cholesterol from the liver to the cells. The problem arises when it oxidizes and starts to stick to artery walls. And that oxidation process is strongly linked to chronic inflammation, poor antioxidant intake, and a sedentary lifestyle.
So LDL only becomes a problem in an unfavorable environment. If the body's inflamed, overloaded with sugar, and under constant stress, that's when it turns into a villain. It shows how everything's connected. Cholesterol is just one actor on the health stage.
Exactly. That's why it's so important to see the body as an integrated system. The key is to reduce inflammation, take care of the liver, move your body, and eat foods rich in phytonutrients, antioxidants, and fiber. That way, cholesterol stays in its proper role and doesn't become a threat.
That perspective is liberating. Instead of fear, it brings responsibility and self-awareness. It's not about running from cholesterol, but about creating an environment where it can do its job properly. Let's keep uncovering other hidden enemies, and the next one seems even trickier. Dr. Haruki, most people still associate high cholesterol with eating too much fat. But more and more studies are pointing to sugar as a real saboteur of the cardiovascular system. Why is sugar, not just fat, one of the main culprits behind rising bad cholesterol?
Because excess sugar, especially refined sugar, triggers an inflammatory response in the body. That inflammation disrupts the liver, the organ that regulates cholesterol levels. Plus, sugar stimulates the production of triglycerides and increases the conversion of simple carbs into fat, especially visceral fat, which is directly linked to higher LDL.
So sugar works behind the scenes, messing with metabolism and throwing the whole system off balance. And what's scary is that it's hidden in almost everything, even in foods we think are healthy, like sauces, bread, yogurt, and even some juices.
Exactly. The biggest problem isn't the sugar in fruit, for example. It's the sugar hidden in processed foods. A lot of products marketed as light or fitness are packed with disguised sugars under names like corn syrup, maltodextrin, dextrose, and more. These ingredients fuel silent inflammation and put your heart at risk.
And there's another point that gets me: sugar's addictive. Sounds exaggerated, but the pleasure it gives makes people overdo it without realizing. Then comes the fatigue, energy crash, craving for more sweets, and the cycle repeats.
It's not exaggerated, it's science. Sugar activates the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine, just like certain drugs. And constant overconsumption alters the body's sensitivity to that system, so you need more and more to get the same effect. That directly messes with metabolism and contributes to fat buildup in the liver.
The good news is that can be reversed, right? Over time, your taste buds can be retrained. And once you start cutting down sugar, you realize natural foods actually have flavor. It's like wiping a foggy window clean.
Exactly. And the body responds fast. Within a few weeks, the liver starts to deflate, triglyceride levels drop, and HDL tends to go up. Plus, your energy stabilizes, sleep improves, and even your mental focus changes. Sugar is a silent thief of vitality.
So how do we start making that change? Any practical tips for cutting out hidden sugar without suffering too much?
Start by reading labels. Avoid anything with long ingredient lists or weird names. Stick to real food. Replace sugar with spices like cinnamon or natural vanilla. And stay hydrated. Many times that sugar craving is just thirst in disguise. Small steps, big transformations.
Dr. Haruki, in most people's minds, fat is still a synonym for danger. But science has already shown there are fats that do the exact opposite. They protect, heal, and reduce inflammation. Where's the line between the kind of fat that destroys and the kind that helps rebuild heart health?
That distinction is essential. Saturated fats in excess, especially those from industrial sources or processed foods, really do have an inflammatory effect and raise LDL. But unsaturated fats, like the ones in extra virgin olive oil, avocado, nuts, and fish like salmon and sardines, have a protective effect. They help raise HDL and reduce vascular inflammation.
And omega-3 steps in as a lead character here, right? You hear about it all the time when people talk about cardiovascular health. Why is it so valued in this conversation?
Because omega-3 has a direct effect on reducing systemic inflammation. It works by modulating cell membranes and regulating pro-inflammatory substances in the body. Plus, studies show it reduces platelet aggregation, improves blood fluidity, and can even lessen arrhythmias. It's found in high amounts in cold water fish like mackerel, herring, and anchovy, as well as chia and flax seeds.
Now, practically speaking, a lot of people still use margarine thinking they're making a healthier choice than butter. But if I got this right, the problem isn't so much animal fat, it's the artificial products, right?
Correct. Many margarines contain trans fats, which are highly inflammatory. They alter the structure of cell membranes and lower HDL while raising LDL. Butter, in moderate amounts and from a good source, is less of an issue. Even so, the priority should be good, natural fats, not industrial ones.
And the common vegetable oils like soybean, corn, canola? They're still used a lot, but I keep seeing more warnings about the damage they can cause when used in excess or at high temperatures.
That's true. Those oils, especially when refined and heated repeatedly, oxidize easily and generate inflammatory compounds. Besides, many of them have unfavorable omega-6 ratios, which in excess also feeds inflammation. The tip is to use extra virgin olive oil raw and, for cooking, choose more stable fats like coconut oil or ghee.
Interesting, because we always thought of fat as the villain on the scale, but now it's clear it's also about quality, not just quantity. You can eat fat and still protect your heart as long as it's the right kind of fat.
Exactly. When chosen well, fats are allies for cardiovascular, brain, and hormone health. They nourish, stabilize metabolism, and even help you absorb essential vitamins like A, D, E, and K. The key is learning to make those choices day to day.
And those choices can change the game. In the next chapter, I want to explore with you a central organ in this whole story, the liver. After all, it's the one orchestrating a lot of what happens with cholesterol in our bodies. Dr. Haruki, so far we've talked a lot about cholesterol and diet's impact, but there's a key player here that most people don't appreciate enough, the liver. It's the one that produces, regulates, and metabolizes cholesterol, right? What exactly does the liver do in this process, and why does it deserve so much attention?
You're absolutely right. The liver is a true conductor of metabolism. It produces about 80% of the cholesterol in the body. The rest comes from food. On top of that, it decides cholesterol's fate, how much will circulate in the blood, how much will be converted into bile, and how much will be recycled. When the liver is healthy, it balances everything beautifully. But when it's overloaded, the whole system falls apart.
And that overload can come from all sides, right? It's not just alcohol that harms the liver, like many people think. Ultra-processed foods, artificial coloring, excess sugar, lack of exercise, all of that weighs on it, so to speak.
Exactly. And that silent overload leads to a condition called hepatic steatosis, or fatty liver, which is getting more and more common, even in thin people. When that happens, the liver loses efficiency at processing fats and clearing out bad cholesterol, which further raises cardiovascular risk.
And what's most worrying is that, just like high cholesterol, fatty liver doesn't show clear signs at start. So people keep living normally, not knowing their metabolism is being sabotaged inside day after day.
Exactly. The good news is the liver is one of the organs with the greatest capacity to regenerate. If a person changes habits, cuts toxic intake, eats better, and moves more, it can recover. And that directly improves cholesterol levels, triglycerides, and overall health.
And is there any food or group of foods that really helps the liver regenerate or work better? Something accessible that can fit into a routine in a practical way?
Absolutely. Foods rich in antioxidants are excellent for the liver. Dark leafy greens, broccoli, artichoke, turmeric, ginger, green tea, berries, and even lemon, which helps bile production. Plus, proper hydration and quality sleep are essential to the liver's natural detox process.
In other words, caring for the liver isn't a one-off effort, it's built day by day. And the payoff goes way beyond cholesterol. It affects energy, immunity, mood. It's like putting the conductor back on the podium.
Exactly. When the liver's doing well, the whole body responds better. Cholesterol regulates, digestion improves, the brain works more clearly. That's why protecting this organ is one of the best decisions someone can make for longevity.
Dr. Haruki, a lot of people still think that to take care of a heart you need intense workouts, run marathons, or spend hours at the gym. But I've been hearing more and more about the power of gentle movement and even deep breathing as strong tools to cleanse the cardiovascular system. Does that really make a difference?
It makes a big difference. What many people don't realize is that regular movement, even light, and conscious breathing directly impact tissue oxygenation, liver health, and blood circulation. When the body moves, the heart pumps better, the lymphatic system kicks in, and there's a natural boost in the body's ability to eliminate toxins, including excess cholesterol and triglycerides.
That changes everything. It opens the door for people of any age and fitness level to start right where they are, without thinking they need to become athletes to care for their hearts. Walking, stretching, guided breathing, all of that gets more respect.
Exactly. The simple habit of walking for 30 minutes a day already brings a significant improvement in insulin sensitivity, liver function, and mobilizing stored fat. And when we pair that with deep, conscious breathing, the kind that activates the diaphragm, we can lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone that's also linked to higher bad cholesterol.
So we're talking not just about a physical effect, but also hormonal and even emotional. I like this approach because it shows that heart care also means slowing down, breathing better, reconnecting with the body. Seems simple, but it has a deep impact.
Yes, and there are studies showing that techniques like diaphragmatic breathing, practiced regularly, can lower blood pressure, improve heart rate variability, a marker of cardiovascular health, and even positively influence the lipid profile. Plus, movement helps the liver metabolize fats better, acting like a natural, daily, and free detox.
That's amazing. And is there any specific breathing technique you usually recommend to your patients? Something simple but effective to get started?
Yes, one that works really well is the 4-7-8 breath. You inhale slowly through the nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale through the mouth for 8. It calms the nervous system, eases anxiety, and helps the body slip into a state that's more favorable for regeneration and metabolic balance. You can do it when you wake up, before bed, or during breaks in the day.
It's almost like a breathable medicine, right? Free, accessible, and with no side effects. The body thanks us when we allow these little resets. Movement and oxygen as healing agents. I find that idea powerful and super practical.
Exactly. When you move regularly and breathe consciously, you kick off a chain of benefits that runs from the heart to the brain. That's pure preventive medicine, and the earlier we start, the bigger the long-term gains.
Dr. Haruki, fasting is a topic that always sparks debate. Some people think of extreme deprivation, others assume it's just a passing trend. But what I want to know about is this 12-hour fast, which seems gentler and at the same time really powerful. What happens in the body during that window?
The 12-hour fast is actually an ancestral practice. It's the ideal time for the body to complete its natural cycles of digestion, absorption, and especially cellular regeneration. When you stop eating for 12 hours, say, you have dinner at 7 p.m. and don't eat again until 7 a.m., the body enters a state of metabolic rest. In that state, it starts burning reserves, dialing down inflammation, and balancing hormone levels.
So it's not about going hungry, it's giving your body time to work without constant interference. It sounds more like a natural reorganization than a restriction, right? And I imagine it directly affects blood cholesterol and fat levels.
Absolutely. During a fast, the liver gets time to metabolize excess lipids, insulin levels drop, which makes it easier to burn fat, and the body starts using stored fat as fuel. That lowers triglycerides and helps improve the cholesterol profile. And you can get all that without extreme measures.
And when people hear fasting, they sometimes think it takes superhuman willpower, but the truth is a nighttime window like this fits into almost anyone's routine. Just skip the late-night snacking, sleep well, and that's it. Your body does the rest.
Exactly. This kind of fasting isn't radical. It's physiological. It respects the body's circadian rhythm, our biological clock. Eating late at night, for example, forces metabolism when it should be slowing down. A gentle 12-hour fast lines you up with a light, dark cycle, which improves sleep, mood, and of course, cardiovascular health.
And is there any group that should be more cautious before adopting this practice? Because sometimes people copy things from the internet without guidance, and that can backfire.
Yes. People with a history of eating disorders, insulin-dependent diabetics, pregnant women, or those with specific metabolic conditions should talk to a professional before starting any fasting practice. But for most healthy people, a 12-hour fast is safe and beneficial.
So in practice, fasting becomes a strategic pause. Not just for the body to clean house, but to reset food and hormone patterns that are often completely scrambled. And the best part, no cost, no complicated diet, just organization.
Exactly. The body has its own intelligence. When we give it space, it does the work on its own. A 12-hour fast is an invitation to self-regulation, and when combined with good food and hydration, the effects are even more significant, especially for preventing cardiovascular disease.
Dr. Haruki, there's something magical about the first hours of the day. And I know you talk a lot about the importance of a morning ritual that wakes up the metabolism and sets the body up for a more balanced day. How does that connect with cardiovascular health and lowering cholesterol?
Mornings really are special because they mark the transition between the overnight fast and the first metabolic activation of the day. What we choose to do and consume right after waking up has a direct impact on energy levels, liver function, and the body's inflammatory response. A well-structured morning ritual can activate the liver, stimulate circulation, and prepare the body to metabolize fats more efficiently.
So even before breakfast, there's this strategic moment to signal to the body that it can run in harmony. And I imagine we're not talking meds or pricey supplements, but something simple, natural, that anyone can adopt.
Exactly. A good morning ritual starts with a glass of warm water to hydrate the body and help the liver kick off its detox functions. From there, we can include a functional drink that brings together ingredients with properties that boost metabolism and circulation. We're talking lemon, ginger, turmeric, foods that, together, make a truly natural formula for your heart.
I'm already curious, because those ingredients are common, but when combined the right way, they can have a therapeutic effect. And the best part, all that at the start of the day, without major changes to your routine.
Perfect. The goal is to use bioactive compounds that help the liver clear out oxidized cholesterol, stimulate bile, which helps digest fats, and improve blood flow. The ritual can also include a few minutes of deep breathing and light stretching to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and lower stress in the first hours of the day.
I like this idea because it brings together three powerful elements: intention, simplicity, and consistency. And even if someone can't do everything, just starting the day with warm water and a functional drink already changes the game, right?
No doubt. Small habits, repeated every day, reprogram the body. This kind of ritual revs up metabolism without overloading digestion and signals to the body that it can burn fat, not store it. Over time, that shows up in better lab results, more energy, and a lower cardiovascular risk.
So the idea isn't just to feed the body, but to guide it. Like an inner message: wake up, cleanse, circulate, regenerate. And once that becomes a habit, the body answers with vitality and balance.
Exactly. Morning is the day's most fertile ground. Everything we do then has an amplified effect. If we use that window with intention, the body thanks us, and the heart, especially, gets stronger.
Dr. Haruki, in the last chapter, you mentioned ingredients like lemon, ginger, and turmeric as part of a morning drink. But I'd like to dig deeper into that. What's so special about these ingredients? What makes them act as cleansing agents inside the body, especially in the blood and arteries?
Each of these ingredients has bioactive properties that work on different fronts. Lemon, for instance, is rich in vitamin C and citric acid, which help the liver produce more enzymes and make digestion easier. It also has a mild alkalizing and antioxidant effect, which supports blood cleansing. Ginger, on the other hand, contains gingerol, a natural anti-inflammatory compound that improves circulation and reduces insulin resistance.
And what about turmeric? I know it's been widely studied for its medicinal properties, especially because of curcumin. Does it also play a role in this internal cleanup?
Absolutely. Curcumin is one of the most powerful natural antioxidants. It fights free radicals, reduces chronic inflammation, and has a special affinity with the liver. In fact, studies show that curcumin helps regulate liver enzymes involved in cholesterol metabolism and protects blood vessels from plaque buildup.
Now, there's one ingredient people often find strange when they hear it: black pepper. But I know it has a strategic role in this combination. What exactly does it do?
Black pepper contains piperine, which is crucial here. It increases the absorption of curcumin in the body by up to 2,000%. Without it, most of the turmeric would pass through the digestive system without being absorbed. On top of that, piperine has vasodilating properties and contributes to thermogenesis, meaning it helps the body burn more energy and metabolize fats more efficiently.
It's fascinating how such simple ingredients, ones found in any kitchen, can become a real functional cocktail when combined with intention. And the best part is, we're not talking about pills or supplements, it's real food.
That's the beauty of integrative medicine. The power to heal lies in food, especially when used consistently and in the right way. When you consume these ingredients together, you create a synergistic effect that improves circulation, reduces inflammation, and helps the body naturally eliminate excess cholesterol.
And this internal cleansing doesn't just mean lower cholesterol, right? It also affects energy, mental clarity, even mood. It's like the whole body starts working more lightly, more fluidly.
Exactly. When blood flows better, the brain gets more oxygen, the intestines work more efficiently, and the immune system gets stronger. This combination of lemon, ginger, turmeric, and black pepper is a natural longevity formula, with effects noticeable within just a few days of consistent use.
So now we're ready to hear the complete recipe, right? In the next chapter, I want to reveal with you this drink that promises to act in as little as 12 hours, and that can literally save a lot of hearts. Dr. Haruki, this is the moment everyone's been waiting for, the morning drink you've been building with us over the last few chapters. We already understand the ingredients, their effects, and the science behind them. Now tell us, how exactly does this drink work, and why can it act so fast, in as little as 12 hours?
This drink combines 5 ingredients that, when taken together first thing in the morning, create the perfect environment for blood cleansing, liver activation, and better circulation. The base liquid is warm water. It helps absorption and wakes up the digestive tract. To that, we add the juice of half a fresh lemon, a pinch of turmeric powder, freshly grated ginger, and a small pinch of black pepper. This combination immediately activates metabolism and boosts the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory action of the compounds.
So it's a simple drink, but with a systemic effect. Warm water, lemon, turmeric, ginger, and black pepper. Nothing out of anyone's reach. But what exactly starts happening in the body right after drinking this mix?
In the first few hours, there's an enzymatic activation in the liver, which improves bile production, essential for digesting fats. Curcumin and gingerol reduce inflammatory markers, while the vitamin C in lemon works as a direct antioxidant in the blood. Piperine, meanwhile, increases the bioavailability of these compounds. That improves blood flow, helps remove toxic waste, and speeds up the burning of stored fats, including excess LDL.
It's almost like the body switches into active cleaning mode. And you said the effects can start within 12 hours. That's pretty quick. Can someone really feel a difference as soon as the first day?
Yes, especially people with a sluggish metabolism, or those weighed down by poor diet or lack of sleep. The first signs are a sense of lightness, better digestion, less bloating, and improved mental clarity. With continued use, blood tests also show real changes: lower triglycerides, more balanced LDL, and gradually rising HDL.
Amazing. And are there any important preparation tips? Because I imagine that to preserve the active compounds, a few details matter, especially with ingredients like turmeric and ginger.
Yes. The ideal is to use warm water, not too hot, to avoid degrading the lemon's vitamin C. The ginger should be freshly grated to preserve the gingerol. The turmeric should be organic and always paired with black pepper. Mix everything and drink it on an empty stomach, preferably 15 to 20 minutes before your first meal. That ensures ideal absorption and maximum effect.
And there's no contraindication for most people, right? It's a safe, accessible practice that can be the first step toward a deeper transformation in cardiovascular health.
Exactly. Of course, pregnant women, people with active gastritis, or those taking anticoagulants should talk to a professional first. But in general, this drink is a powerful self-care tool that helps rebalance the body from the inside out.
So now that the recipe's revealed, in the next chapter one want to understand how to fit this practice into a sustainable routine. Because more important than starting is maintaining the habit and reaping the rewards over time. Dr. Haruki, throughout this talk we've learned how high cholesterol forms, the body's silent warning signs, the role of the liver, sugar, good fats, movement, fasting. And of course, we reach the drink that helps kickstart internal cleansing. Now, how do we turn all that into a routine? How can someone sustain this 12-hour protocol long-term?
The key is simplicity. The protocol starts with the light 12-hour fast we discussed. Have dinner early, around 7 p.m., and don't eat again until 7 a.m. During that time, the body enters a regenerative state. Upon waking, the first step is to drink the morning beverage, the mix of warm water, lemon, turmeric, ginger, and black pepper. That activates the liver and starts the metabolic cleansing process.
And after that drink, it's best to wait a few minutes before eating, right? I think it's worth emphasizing that because many people might drink it and go straight to a traditional breakfast with bread, coffee, milk, which could cancel part of the effects.
Exactly. Ideally, you should wait 15 to 30 minutes before your first solid meal. And if that meal is rich in fiber, healthy fats, and antioxidants, the effects of the protocol are amplified. For example, a breakfast with avocado, seeds, berries, and natural teas that keeps the body in an anti-inflammatory state and extends the benefits of fasting.
Now, besides food, what other habits help maintain this new cholesterol and heart balance throughout the day? Is there a complementary routine that boosts the effect?
Yes. 3 pillars are fundamental: hydration, quality sleep, and movement. Drinking water throughout the day helps the liver flush toxins. Sleeping well regulates appetite and metabolism hormones. And moving, even short walks, keeps the blood flowing and the liver active. These habits are simple, but when combined with the morning protocol, they create an internal environment that supports cardiovascular health.
It's interesting how the protocol goes beyond a recipe. It becomes a practical philosophy of self-care. And what strikes me most is that it doesn't require anything extraordinary, just presence, consistency, and a bit of attention to the body.
Exactly. And the impact is real. Many of my patients who adopted this lifestyle reported not only better test results, but also more energy, mental clarity, and even a more stable mood. Heart health isn't isolated. It reflects a body that works in harmony.
And that's truly transformative. Because we stop seeing cholesterol as an invisible enemy and start understanding it as a reflection of daily choices. A messenger, as you said before. And changing that message is in our hands.
Perfect. The body's message can be rewritten every day. With awareness, natural food, movement, and simple rituals, we can not only lower cholesterol but strengthen the heart, in every sense. The 12-hour protocol is just the beginning of a new story of health.
And what a powerful story. Dr. Haruki, thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom in such an accessible and inspiring way. May this episode be a turning point in the lives and hearts of those who decide to start today. Number 19. Coffee with artificial creamers or flavored sweeteners. My conversations with Dr. Tanaka always surprise me, especially when he points out the hidden dangers in small, everyday choices. A classic example is morning coffee. By itself, it can even be neutral or beneficial in moderate amounts, but when that artificial creamer or flavored sweetener enters the picture, everything changes. These products often contain a dangerous combination of trans fats, corn syrup, flavorings, and other chemical compounds that directly compromise heart health. The The sweet taste and creamy texture hide a true assault on metabolism, especially on cholesterol balance. These substances not only inflame the body, but also alter the functioning of liver enzymes responsible for processing fats. This means that even a seemingly harmless dose of artificial creamer can lower HDL cholesterol, the so-called good cholesterol, while raising LDL, the bad cholesterol. It's a metabolic inversion that promotes plaque formation in the arteries, increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease. And the worst part is that many people consume this daily, thinking they're just enhancing their coffee. Another worrying factor is the cumulative effect of these additives. Even if you don't notice anything in the first few months or years, over time they contribute to a chronic inflammatory state. This silent inflammation is a key factor in the development of various conditions, such as hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and even autoimmune diseases. When it comes to arterial health, every detail counts, and what you put in your coffee can make a much bigger difference than it seems. There's also the impact on the liver, a crucial organ in cholesterol regulation. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose or acesulfame can alter the gut microbiome and impair liver metabolism. This means that in addition to providing no nutritional value, these additives actually sabotage the body's internal functions. By compromising liver function, they make the body less efficient at eliminating excess cholesterol, speeding up fat buildup in the blood. If you feel you need something to soften the bitterness of coffee, consider natural alternatives. A splash of unsweetened plant-based milk, like almond or oat milk, can be a safer choice. Ground cinnamon is also a great option. It enhances flavor, has antioxidant properties, and helps regulate blood sugar levels. Small swaps like these protect your heart without giving up the pleasure of a good cup of coffee. The good news is that changing this habit is easier than it seems. Many people report that after a few weeks without industrial creamers or flavored sweeteners, their palate adjusts. Coffee becomes enjoyable again in its pure, authentic form, and the body thanks you with more energy, less inflammation, and healthier circulation. Your heart deserves that care, even in the smallest details. Number 18. Excessive alcohol consumption. After that last talk about coffee with artificial creamers, it became clear how small habits can turn into big risks for the heart. And Dr. Tanaka made me think even more when he brought up another critical point: alcohol consumption. Many people believe that a glass of wine or an occasional beer doesn't make a difference, but when that habit becomes frequent or excessive, the impact on the body is deep, silent, and cumulative. The liver, which is responsible for metabolizing alcohol, is one of the first to suffer, and that effect quickly reaches the arteries and heart. When consumed in excess, alcohol overloads the liver and triggers chronic inflammation. That inflammation directly interferes with the body's natural cholesterol regulation, leading to higher LDL and triglyceride levels in the blood. It's as if your body starts working against you, accumulating plaque in the arteries and making circulation heavier and slower. Even if you don't notice it at first, it's a path that speeds up the risk of heart attacks, hypertension, and arrhythmias. Another concerning point is the link between alcohol and weight gain. A sugary cocktail, for example, mixes alcohol with large amounts of refined sugar, creating a caloric bomb that intensifies metabolic damage. This excess doesn't just affect appearance, it worsens the body's inflammatory markers and puts even more strain on the cardiovascular system. The result is a cycle of inflammation, fat accumulation, and out-of-control cholesterol that puts the heart at serious risk. It's not just the liver that suffers, the blood vessel walls themselves become more fragile and prone to damage. Excess alcohol disrupts blood pressure regulation, raising it progressively, something that can go unnoticed for months or even years. When combined with poor diet, the effects multiply, increasing the risk of atherosclerosis. It's a silent threat that slowly undermines your health. But there's a positive side. Cutting back on alcohol brings quick benefits. Within a few weeks of moderation, cholesterol levels can start to improve, the liver begins to recover, and blood pressure tends to stabilize. Small changes are enough to give the body a breather and restore metabolic balance. It's a simple gesture that directly supports heart health. If quitting completely feels hard, the secret lies in moderation and mindfulness. Setting clear limits, alternating with non-alcoholic drinks at social events, and choosing lower-calorie options can all make a difference. Just like with coffee, changing habits is a practical way to protect your heart, and every choice matters when it comes to long-term cardiovascular health. Number 17. Excessive liver and organ meat consumption. Speaking of the liver, Dr. Tanaka raised a point that many people wouldn't even imagine. eating organ meats like liver, kidneys, and gizzards. Surprisingly, foods that some people consider super nutritious can be harmful when eaten frequently or in large amounts. The issue isn't the food itself, but the excess. Liver and other organ meats are concentrated sources of dietary cholesterol, which can be a challenge for people who already have high cholesterol or metabolic sensitivity. Although they're rich in nutrients like iron, zinc, and vitamin B12, these foods also carry a significant load of saturated fat and cholesterol. For sensitive individuals, the excess can easily disrupt LDL and HDL levels. Over time, frequent intake can overload the liver, the very organ responsible for metabolizing fats, creating a paradoxical effect: fat buildup where there should be detox and filtration. Another concern is the risk of vitamin A toxicity, since it's fat-soluble and accumulates in the body. When organ meats are consumed too often, the body can absorb high doses of this vitamin, leading to side effects ranging from nausea and headaches to more serious liver problems. The takeaway here isn't to demonize these foods, but to understand that moderation is essential, especially for anyone focused on heart health. It's also important to remember that depending on the source, organ meats can accumulate toxins from the animal itself. Meaning, if they're not from trustworthy suppliers, the risk increases even more. Constant exposure to toxic substances can trigger silent inflammatory processes in the body, directly impacting cardiovascular health and liver function. It's a domino effect that starts with diet and ends in the arteries. For those who enjoy these foods, the solution is clear balance. Eating liver occasionally, as part of a balanced meal, can even be beneficial. The problem is when it becomes a weekly habit, or worse, appears multiple times in your menu. The best approach is to diversify protein sources and include lighter options like fish, eggs, and legumes that don't overload the body. Making that swap is a smart way to protect metabolism without giving up flavor. After all, taking care of your heart doesn't mean you have to stop enjoying food. It means making more conscious choices. And understanding how excessive organ meat consumption can affect cholesterol balance is a key step in that journey toward transformation. Number 16. Industrial bakery products. Dr. Tanaka once told me that if there's one underestimated and dangerous eating habit, it's the frequent consumption of industrial bakery products. And it makes perfect sense. Croissants, donuts, sweetbreads, pies, and pastries fill bakery and supermarket shelves with an irresistible look. But behind that golden crust and tempting aroma hides a cocktail of ingredients harmful to cardiovascular health. These are highly processed foods, full of refined flours, sugar, chemical additives, and above all, artificial fats. These products are usually made with large amounts of margarine and hydrogenated vegetable oils, two direct sources of trans fats, the most dangerous for the heart. These fats not only raise LDL cholesterol, but also lower HDL, creating the perfect setting for arterial plaque buildup. Combined with sugar and white flour, they cause intense blood sugar spikes, stimulating insulin production, and in the long term, encouraging abdominal fat accumulation. The impact goes far beyond cholesterol. Industrial bakery foods cause silent inflammation in the body. These inflammations don't hurt, but they slowly damage vascular health, making arteries less elastic and impairing oxygen and nutrient transport. That means less vitality, more fatigue, and a growing risk of heart disease, even for those who still feel fine. Another critical factor is how often these foods are eaten. They show up at breakfast, afternoon snacks, desserts, and even quick meals. This repetition turns what should be an exception into a harmful constant. The more frequently they appear in your diet, the harder it becomes to control cholesterol, triglycerides, and blood sugar. It's a vicious eating cycle disguised as convenience. The good news is that there are simple, healthy alternatives. Replacing these foods with real whole grain breads, homemade cakes made with natural ingredients, or even oat-based pancakes already represents a drastic improvement. Besides being more nutritious, these options reduce inflammation and offer fiber that helps control cholesterol. They're choices that treat your body with the respect it deserves. Transforming what's on your plate is an act of self-care. And as Dr. Tanaka always reminds us, every meal is an opportunity to protect your heart or to put it at risk. If the goal is to live longer and better, industrial bakery products should be kept as far away from your routine as possible. Your heart and your whole body will thank you for it. Number 15. Instant noodles. Dr. Tanaka always warns about foods that seem harmless but are actually traps for your health. And when it comes to cholesterol and inflammation, instant noodles are near the top of that list. Quick, cheap, and addictive in flavor, they've become popular all over the world, but they're also one of the biggest threats too. Proper heart function. The problem lies in their explosive combination of artificial ingredients, oxidized oils, and an alarming amount of sodium. These products are basically made of refined white flour and hydrogenated vegetable fat. The noodle, which seems innocent, goes through intense industrial processing to ensure shelf life and texture, losing nearly all its nutrients along the way. And the seasoning packet that comes with it? Even worse. It's packed with monosodium glutamate, dyes, and preservatives, turning a simple dish into a festival of inflammatory substances that affect not only the liver, but the entire cardiovascular system. The hydrogenated fat in instant noodles directly harms good cholesterol and promotes bad cholesterol. Regular consumption of this type of food is linked to increased insulin resistance, weight gain, and chronic inflammation. These three factors combined form the perfect recipe for diseases like hypertension, atherosclerosis, and heart attacks. And the worst part, most people have no idea they're eating something so harmful to the body. Another critical issue is the absurd amount of sodium in these products. A single portion can exceed the daily recommended intake of salt. That excess puts pressure on the heart, raises blood pressure, and damages blood vessel elasticity. So even if you think you're just grabbing something quick, your body feels it and pays the price through accumulated, where that can have serious consequences down the road. Fortunately, you can make better choices with the same convenience. Swapping instant noodles for homemade whole grain versions with vegetables, olive oil, and natural seasonings is an important step. Preparing and freezing portions of real food is also a great option for busy days. These alternatives provide fiber, antioxidants, and healthy fats, protecting your heart instead of harming it. The idea isn't to complicate your routine, but to make it more conscious. The time you save with a quick meal could cost years of health later. And as Dr. Tanaka always says, taking care of what you eat is one of the most direct ways to prevent disease. Prioritize what truly nourishes. Your heart will thank you with more strength, vitality, and longevity. Number 14. Bag snacks and chips. In our last chat, Dr. Tanaka cut straight to the chase. Bag snacks and chips are the perfect example of food that harms your body while pretending to be a convenient snack. And he's right. These products are engineered to be addictive. Crunchy, salty, colorful, and intensely flavored, everything is designed to light up your brain and make you eat more. But behind that convenience is one of the biggest sources of trans fats, refined starch, and sodium in the modern diet. The biggest trap with these snacks is the fat used to fry or coat the products. Many brands still use partially hydrogenated oils that contain trans fats, even with misleading labels like trans-free. Those fats are poison for your heart. They don't just raise LDL, they also lower HDL, creating a metabolic setup that promotes fatty plaque buildup in the arteries. The direct consequence? Higher risk of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure. On top of that, these products are made from refined flours and starches, ingredients that quickly turn into glucose in your blood. The impact is twofold. It spikes insulin and pushes your body to store fat, especially around the belly. That drives systemic inflammation and contributes to insulin resistance, which in turn worsens triglycerides and cholesterol levels. It's a silent domino effect, and a very dangerous one. Another villain in those bags is salt. And we're not talking about a pinch too much. In many cases, a small bag of chips already blows past the ideal daily sodium intake. Excess salt stiffens the arteries, raises blood pressure, and speeds up the aging of blood vessels. For anyone already prone to heart disease, that's a huge risk, and one that's totally avoidable with more mindful choices. But the biggest issue is how impulsively these foods get eaten. In front of the TV, on a work break, while driving, they turn into an unconscious habit. And once they become routine, your health starts sending signals: fatigue, bloating, brain fog, high blood pressure. Small symptoms that point to a deep imbalance kicked off by the seemingly innocent daily snack. Luckily, there are simple, way more nutritious swaps. Baked sweet potato chips, crispy chickpeas, or veggie sticks with natural dips give you crunch and flavor without the damage of ultra-processed products. The key is planning ahead and keeping healthy options within reach. When hunger hits, your heart will thank you for the choice. Number 13. Refined soy, corn, and canola oils. In one of my more recent appointments, Dr. Tanaka got me to rethink something many people consider normal: the daily use of refined oils in the kitchen. Soy, corn, canola, they're everywhere, on shelves in restaurants, even in classic home recipes. But what most folks don't know is that these oils, though they seem light or plant-based, go through such intense industrial processing that they lose almost all their natural antioxidants and pick up inflammatory properties that directly affect the heart. During refining, these oils are exposed to high heat, chemical solvents, and deodorizing steps. The result is a highly oxidized product that generates free radicals when heated again for cooking. Those free radicals damage cells, inflame tissues, and impair the endothelium, the inner lining of arteries that regulates blood pressure and circulation. Frequent consumption of these oils is directly linked to higher LDL cholesterol while hindering HDL. That imbalance between the two is one of the biggest triggers for arterial plaque formation. Over time, that buildup leads to atherosclerosis, reducing vascular flexibility and drastically increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. All that from an ingredient that looks harmless, but sneaks into almost every meal of the day. Plus, these refined oils have a lopsided omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. That skew ramps up inflammatory processes in the body, affecting not just the cardiovascular system, but also the brain, joints, and immune system. When inflammation is constant, your body stays on high alert, wearing down organs quietly, including the heart. But the fix is closer than you think. Swapping refined oils for extra virgin olive oil, cold-pressed coconut oil, or even a small amount of good quality butter can transform your cooking. These natural fats preserve antioxidants and healthy lipids that nourish your body and protect cells from oxidative stress. It's not about cutting all fat, it's about choosing fats that nourish instead of inflame. The kitchen is one of health's biggest battlegrounds, and the oil you use decides who wins, inflammation or balance. As Dr. Tanaka likes to say, a smart pan choice today can save you a hospital bed tomorrow. Make your oil an ally to your heart, not a silent saboteur. Number 12. Pizza with fatty cheeses and processed meats. You know those nights when you crave something quick, easy, and tasty? A lot of people reach for pizza. And of course, it's loved worldwide. But as Dr. Tanaka always reminds us, the problem isn't pizza itself. It's the explosive combo in many industrial or fast food versions, fatty cheeses and processed meats. That combo turns a popular dish into a real nightmare for your heart. The cheeses most used on pizzas are calorie-dense, loaded with saturated fat and salt. Add toppings like pepperoni, bacon, or sausage, all processed and packed with nitrites, and you've got an inflammatory bomb on your plate. That mix raises bad cholesterol, LDL, lowers good HDL, and speeds up artery blockage. The result? High blood pressure, poor circulation, and a raised risk of heart attack and stroke. Another critical issue is sodium. A single slice can hold more salt than a safe daily intake. Imagine what happens if you eat 3, 4, or more slices in one meal. That excess strains your circulatory system, makes your heart work harder, and promotes fluid retention, which, over time, can affect kidneys and joints. It's a quiet but constant assault on your body. On top of that, most commercial pizzas use refined dough, low in fiber and high in simple carbs. Those carbs turn quickly into blood sugar, disrupting glucose levels and encouraging belly fat, a key risk factor for cardiovascular disease. Combine that with excess fat and salt, and you've got a perfect storm for metabolic chaos. But you don't have to cut pizza out of your life. The secret is in the choices. Go for whole grain crusts, leaner cheeses, and veggie-heavy toppings to turn a risky dish into a much more balanced meal. Tomato, spinach, mushrooms, onion, arugula all add flavor and health benefits without beating up your body. Balancing pleasure and health is totally doable. It's not about living in restriction. It's about being aware of what goes on your plate. Pizza can still have a place in your menu. Just make smarter choices that respect your heart. After all, as Dr. Tanaka says, the taste of your food shouldn't come at the cost of your health. Number 11. Store-bought ice creams and milkshakes. On a hot afternoon, or as a reward after a tough day, few temptations feel as irresistible as a creamy ice cream or a frosty milkshake. And that's exactly what Dr. Tanaka flagged with a simple line: what cools you on the outside can inflame you on the inside. He wasn't exaggerating. Industrial ice creams and ready-made milkshakes are hidden enemies of cardiovascular health, and the impact goes way beyond what most people imagine. They're made with a combo of refined sugar, saturated fat, and a long list of artificial additives. The dairy base is often enriched with hydrogenated fats containing trans fats, the worst for your heart. They drastically raise LDL, lower HDL, and inflame blood vessels. Every spoonful may feel delightful, but inside your body, it's a real metabolic collapse. Another critical issue is the glycemic load. Ice creams and milkshakes cause sharp spikes in blood sugar followed by steep crashes, which throw off metabolism and push the body to store fat, especially around the belly. That promotes weight gain and raises the risk of insulin resistance, one of the main factors that affects the liver's natural cholesterol production. These frozen desserts are also extremely low in fiber and essential nutrients. Instead of feeding your body something that supports balance, they deliver empty calories, sugar, and fats that quietly inflame the system. Over time, that way of eating encourages fat buildup in the liver and accelerates arterial aging. But you don't have to ditch pleasure entirely. The trick is making more mindful swaps. These days, there are homemade natural versions made with frozen fruit, plant milks, and natural sweeteners like erythritol or a bit of honey. Besides being lighter, they offer fiber and antioxidants and avoid the glycemic crash caused by industrial options. In the end, the joy of something sweet and refreshing doesn't have to mean putting your health at risk. As Dr. Tanaka often says, the best dessert is the one that cools your palate and nourishes your body. With small changes, you can keep enjoying every spoonful, now with more health and awareness. Number 10. Industrial heavy cream and whipped cream. After talking about store-bought ice creams and milkshakes, it's impossible not to extend the conversation to two other sneaky sweet villains, heavy cream and whipped cream from the store. Dr. Tanaka was clear. These ingredients are like wolves in sheep's clothing, gentle in taste but heavy in consequences for cardiovascular health. And the problem starts with their makeup. They're rich in saturated fat, sugar, and a hefty dose of chemical additives. Industrial heavy cream, especially the boxed or canned kind, packs a very high concentration of saturated fat. In excess, that type of fat raises bad cholesterol, LDL, and lowers good HDL, creating a dangerous imbalance that directly affects how your arteries function. Over time, that process encourages vessels to harden and clog, something most people don't notice until the first signs of heart trouble show up. Whipped cream, especially the ready-to-use spray or frozen variety, goes even further. It mixes hydrogenated vegetable fat with refined sugar and artificial flavorings. That makes it a true inflammatory cocktail. The trans fats in these products are known to be dangerous. There's no safe dose, according to major health bodies worldwide. Their presence in innocent desserts like a slice of cake or a fruit cup with whipped cream makes the risk even more silent. These ingredients also hit the liver hard, forcing it to work overtime to metabolize saturated fats and deal with chemical additives. Over time, that overloads the organ and messes with cholesterol metabolism, raising triglycerides and contributing to visceral fat. All from a spoonful here and there that seems harmless day. Today, the good news is you can keep the creaminess in recipes without wrecking your health. Swaps like nut-based plant creams or homemade whipped cream made with whipped coconut milk are lighter, tasty alternatives with far less downside. And using ripe fruits like banana or mango as a dessert base can bring natural sweetness that satisfies without beating up your body. Remember, every little ingredient matters. What seems like a small detail in a recipe can be the difference between a dish that nourishes and one that inflames. Dr. Tanaka always says health is built through daily choices, including that spoonful of whipped cream on your coffee. Your heart deserves choices that respect it, even in desserts. Number 9. Butter in excess. Right after we talk about heavy cream and whipped cream, Dr. Tanaka paused and said, "Now, let's talk about something more controversial, butter." And he was right. Unlike the clearly industrial ingredients, butter has a mixed reputation. For some, it's a classic villain. For others, a traditional food that does no harm if it's natural. The truth is in the middle. Butter can be part of a healthy diet, but excess, as he stressed, is a silent risk for your heart. Butter is rich in saturated fat, the kind that in large amounts drives up LDL cholesterol. When you eat it often and in generous doses, it promotes fatty plaque in the arteries, raising the risk of atherosclerosis. The issue isn't the small pat used to sauté veggies or add flavor to a dish. It's the overdoing it, slathering thick layers on bread every day, finishing pastas, popcorn, or desserts with it all the time. Another point Dr. Tanaka highlighted is how butter is usually eaten, typically alongside white breads, refined pastas, or foods already loaded with calories. That creates a combined effect that spikes blood sugar, triglycerides, and inflammation. Even if butter is natural, when it's part of an unbalanced diet, it feeds metabolic chaos, making cholesterol regulation harder and hurting cardiovascular health. Plus, many people swap margarine for butter thinking they're making a healthy choice, which can be true as long as it's in moderation. The difference is butter is an animal-saturated fat, while many margarines contain trans fats. But that doesn't mean butter is all you can eat. Limits matter, especially for anyone with high cholesterol, hypertension, or a family history of heart disease. So what's the sweet spot? Dr. Tanaka suggests mindful use. About a teaspoon a day, folded into a balanced meal, is enough to enjoy the flavor without compromising health. If you want to cut the impact even more, extra virgin olive oil is a great alternative. It provides monounsaturated fats with proven heart benefits. Other options include nut butters or avocado spreads, also nutritious and heart-friendly. The message is clear. Butter isn't the enemy. Excess is. Respect portions, consider the context in which you eat it, and aim for balance. As Dr. Tanaka likes to say, what harms you isn't the food, it's the habit. And better habits build stronger hearts. Number 8. Fatty red meat. After our talk about butter, Dr. Tanaka made sure to touch on another topic that raises plenty of questions: red meat. But not just any kind. He went straight to the point about fatty cuts, those with visible fat layers like ribs, picanha, or brisket. While many people love these cuts for their rich flavor, they carry a massive risk when it comes to cardiovascular health. And once again, the villain is excess saturated fat. When eaten regularly, these meats overload the liver, the organ that manages fat and cholesterol metabolism. As it processes large amounts of saturated fat, the liver starts producing more LDL cholesterol, the type that builds up in artery walls and forms plaques. That silent, ongoing process narrows blood vessels and limits blood flow, forcing the heart to work harder and raising blood pressure. Another concerning factor is the cooking method. These cuts are often grilled, fried, or roasted at high temperatures, which creates toxic substances called heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These compounds have inflammatory and oxidative effects in the body, further increasing risks to the cardiovascular system. In other words, it's not just what you eat, it's also how you prepare it that affects your health. And don't think this kind of meat only impacts the heart. It also directly affects the body's overall lipid profile by raising triglycerides and promoting abdominal fat accumulation. That type of fat is especially dangerous because it surrounds vital organs and releases inflammatory substances that throw the entire system off balance. It's a cycle of dysfunction that starts on your plate and ends in your circulatory system. But as Dr. Tanaka always emphasizes, you don't need to cut red meat completely from your diet. The secret is choosing leaner cuts, like round, top sirloin, or shank, and eating them in moderation. Alternating with protein sources like fish, skinless chicken, eggs, or legumes is a smart way to diversify your meals without sacrificing flavor or health. Adding fiber-rich vegetables to your plate also helps reduce the absorption of unhealthy fats. Your diet doesn't have to be extreme, but it does have to be intentional. Cutting excesses and making more balanced substitutions is one of the most powerful decisions you can make for yourself. As Dr. Tanaka always says, eating well is choosing to live better. Avoiding excess fatty red meat is one of those choices that make all the difference in the long run. Number 7. Soft drinks and sugary beverages. In one of the most striking conversations with Dr. Tanaka, he said something I'll never forget. If there's one drink that deceives the body and slowly destroys the heart, it's soda. And that statement applies to all versions: regular, diet, light, natural flavor, or even so-called zero-calorie. Soft drinks and sugary beverages are, without a doubt, some of the biggest enemies of cardiovascular health in the modern diet. The reason is simple. These drinks are loaded with refined sugar, corn syrup, and artificial additives. When you drink a glass, your body gets hit with an absurd glucose load within minutes. That forces the liver to convert the excess into triglycerides, directly increasing the production of bad cholesterol, LDL, and raising circulating fat levels in the blood. This inflammatory process damages liver function and promotes fat buildup in the arteries. And it doesn't stop there. Even the sugar-free versions that use artificial sweeteners like aspartame or sucralose cause metabolic imbalances. These compounds trick the brain, alter taste perception, and falsely stimulate insulin production. The result? The body becomes more prone to insulin resistance, weight gain, and a dangerous cycle of food cravings. And all that, ironically, from trying to avoid calories. These drinks also play a major role in the buildup of abdominal fat, which is metabolically active and highly inflammatory. A larger waist circumference is one of the main risk factors for heart attacks, type 2 diabetes, and hypertension. And the scariest part? Many people drink these beverages daily, with lunch, dinner, or even as hydration throughout the day. That turns risk into a chronic condition. But the worst part is that they offer absolutely no nutrients. They're empty calories that don't nourish, they intoxicate. The excess phosphorus, colorants, and caffeine in these products can also overload the kidneys and bones, disrupt sleep, and raise stress levels, all of which, in turn, harm the heart. The good news is that there are simple, much healthier alternatives. Swapping soda for sparkling water with lemon, unsweetened iced tea, or diluted fruit juice can be a great start. These are refreshing options that hydrate, protect, and even help regulate blood sugar levels, a habit that, over time, makes a huge difference. As Dr. Tanaka says, your body knows when you take care of it, and it responds with health. Choosing what you drink is just as important as choosing what you eat. And cutting out soft drinks might be one of the most powerful steps you can take to protect your heart. Number 6. Industrial sweets. In one especially honest conversation, Dr. Tanaka told me something simple but hard to forget. Industrial sweets are instant pleasures with slow, devastating consequences. And that perfectly sums up what happens in the body when packaged cakes, filled cookies, ready-made pies, and other ultra-processed desserts become routine. They please your taste buds for a few minutes, but inflame your body for hours, directly affecting your heart. These sweets are made with huge amounts of refined sugar, white flour, and processed fats. This combo spikes blood sugar levels, triggers insulin surges, and pushes the body to store fat. Over time, this ongoing process raises triglycerides, throws cholesterol off balance, and contributes to weight gain, especially around the belly, where fat is most inflammatory. But doesn't stop there. The fats used in these products, often trans or partially hydrogenated, cause a total collapse in lipid markers. They raise bad cholesterol, LDL, lower good, HDL, and inflame the arteries. That weakens blood vessels, thickens the blood, and significantly raises the risk of cardiac events. And all that comes from something people often treat as a quick snack or daily dessert. Another major issue is the strain on the liver. The excess sugar and refined fat force the organ to work overtime, leading to fat accumulation in the liver. This condition, known as fatty liver disease, reduces the liver's ability to regulate cholesterol levels, creating a vicious cycle of metabolic imbalance. An inflamed liver can't filter properly, and the whole body pays the price. What worries Dr. Tanaka most, and rightly so, is how normalized these foods have become. They're in lunchboxes, offices, meetings, parties, even breakfasts. That constant presence turns occasional consumption into a daily habit. And the more often these sweets are eaten, the harder it becomes to control cholesterol, weight, and systemic inflammation. But there are healthier ways to satisfy your sweet tooth. Homemade treats made with dried fruits, nuts, pure cocoa, or whole grain flours are delicious and functional alternatives. They deliver flavor without harming the body, and even bring fiber, antioxidants, and healthy fats. The key is intention. Eat to nourish, not just to satisfy impulses. As Dr. Tanaka always says, if you want to take care of your heart, start with your desserts. Number 5. Industrial French fries. Right after we finished talking about industrial sweets, Dr. Tanaka gave me a serious look and said, now let's move to one of the most beloved and most dangerous snacks, industrial French fries. And he wasn't exaggerating. Packaged or fast food fries are marketed as a simple side dish, but they hide an alarming mix of inflammatory substances that directly harm the heart, liver, and overall metabolism. These fries are deep fried in reused oils rich in trans fats. This kind of fat is recognized as one of the worst enemies of cardiovascular health because it not only raises bad cholesterol, LDL, but also lowers good HDL, completely throwing off the body's lipid balance. And that imbalance is the first step toward plaque buildup in the arteries, drastically raising the risk of heart attack and stroke. Beyond the harmful fats, industrial fries contain absurd amounts of sodium. That excess salt doesn't just boost flavor, it directly affects blood pressure, stiffens vessel walls, and worsens hypertension. Combined with the high glycemic load of refined potato starch, it creates the perfect recipe for chronic inflammation and metabolic imbalance. Another serious issue is the toxic compounds formed during high-temperature frying, such as acrylamide. This substance has carcinogenic potential and increases oxidative stress in the body, damaging cells and speeding up arterial aging. And all that happens in foods eaten guilt-free, as snacks during movies, parties, or even in kids' lunches. But the greatest danger lies in regular consumption. People don't realize that eating fries several times a week constantly feeds an internal inflammatory process. The body sends subtle signals: fatigue, fluid retention, belly fat, and over time, those turn into serious heart problems. All that from a snack that seems harmless. Fortunately, there are much healthier and equally tasty alternatives. Baked potatoes with olive oil and herbs, veggie chips made from carrots, beets, or zucchini, and even oven-baked sweet potato fries offer crunch and satisfaction without the metabolic cost of industrial versions. As Dr. Tanaka always says, you can eat with pleasure and still take care of your heart. You just need to make more mindful choices. Number 4. Fast food. After our whole talk about industrial fries, Dr. Tanaka summed it up perfectly. Fast food culture is one of the biggest silent threats to heart health. And he wasn't exaggerating. Fast food has spread worldwide as a symbol of convenience, but it also delivers a full package of assaults on the body. Reused frying oils, processed meats, refined breads, and generous amounts of salt and sugar, all in a single meal. The main issue starts with the reused frying oils. Each time they're heated, they undergo chemical transformations that produce highly toxic oxidized compounds. These compounds damage the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of the arteries, and increase cardiovascular inflammation. The body reacts with oxidative stress, which over time hardens and clogs arteries, reducing oxygen flow to vital organs. Fast food meals are also ultra-processed and loaded with trans fats, salt, and refined carbs. That combination completely throws metabolism off balance. Bad cholesterol, LDL, goes up, good cholesterol, HDL, drops, blood sugar spikes, and triglycerides climb. It's a metabolic storm that leaves the body wide open to diseases like hypertension, type 2 diabetes, and heart attacks. Another major issue is portion size. Fast food chains push overconsumption with combos and large sizes that double or triple the calories of one meal. And because these foods are low in fiber and full of additives, they don't create real satiety, making people eat more without realizing it. That speeds up weight gain and visceral fat accumulation, which is highly inflammatory. Many people also don't realize that fast food creates dependency. The intense, artificial flavors, crispy textures, and quick reward activate brain areas linked to food addiction. Over time, it becomes harder to enjoy natural meals, and the body starts craving those aggressive flavors, even while knowing they're harmful. But you don't have to give up convenience to eat well. It's completely possible to. Make quick, healthy meals at home. Sandwiches on whole grain bread with veggies, homemade burgers with lean meat, hearty salads with legumes and grains, even baked snacks that replace fast food perfectly. The secret lies in the preparation and ingredients you choose. As Dr. Tanaka says, eating fast doesn't have to mean eating bad. Replacing fast food with real, home-prepared meals is a powerful choice that protects your heart and gives you back control of your health. And the sooner you start, the sooner you'll feel the results from the inside out. Number 3. Regular margarine. Dr. Tanaka doesn't hide his concern about the confusion that still exists between margarine and butter. And he often says margarine was sold as a healthy alternative, but in reality, it's one of the worst foods for your heart. That statement might shock those who grew up hearing that margarine was lighter or cholesterol-free. But when we take a closer look at its composition, it's easy to understand why it should be avoided, especially by those trying to control cholesterol. Regular margarine is a highly industrialized product made from vegetable oils that go through a process called hydrogenation. This process turns liquid oil into a solid fat, giving it longer shelf life and a creamy texture. The problem is that during this transformation, the dreaded trans fats are created, substances that don't exist in nature and seriously mess with lipid metabolism. The trans fats found in margarine raise LDL cholesterol, the bad one, lower HDL, the good one, and promote inflammation in the arteries. This imbalance increases the risk of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaques that narrow blood vessels and restrict circulation. And since this process happens silently, many people only notice the problem once they're already facing advanced cardiovascular disease. Another worrying aspect is how often margarine is used in everyday foods, bread, cakes, cookies, and recipes in general. It becomes an invisible part of the diet, disguised by its mild flavor and promise of convenience. But this constant intake puts a steady strain on the liver, which has to deal with the artificial fats and keep blood cholesterol levels balanced. And the harder that job gets, the more fat builds up where it shouldn't. Thankfully, there are much safer alternatives. For those who miss the creaminess of margarine, avocado spread, hummus, nut butters, or even extra virgin olive oil are nutritious and tasty options. All of these provide healthy fats that help reduce inflammation, balance cholesterol, and protect the cardiovascular system. Plus, they're real foods, things the body recognizes and makes good use of. As Dr. Tanaka often reminds people, it's not about cutting fat, it's about choosing the right kind of fat. Regular margarine might seem harmless, but its impact is deep and continuous. Swapping it for natural ingredients is a simple act that transforms meals and strengthens your health, a key step toward a more protected heart. Number 2. Ultra-processed cheeses. Right after talking about margarine, Dr. Tanaka pointed out another common item in people's meals that deserves special attention: ultra-processed cheeses. He made a clear distinction. We're not talking about artisanal or fresh cheese, but rather the industrialized processed versions, full of additives and with that plastic-like texture. And that makes all the difference. Because these products, while they might seem convenient and tasty, have a composition that quietly attacks heart health. Processed cheeses like sandwich slices, cheese spreads, or those that come in tubes and jars are packed with saturated fats and hidden sodium. But the bigger issue is that many of them contain added trans fats to improve texture and extend shelf life. These artificial fats are extremely inflammatory and disrupt cholesterol balance by raising LDL and lowering HDL, exactly the setup that leads to clogged arteries. Beyond the harmful fats, these cheeses also contain a hefty load of salt and additives like phosphates, dyes, and preservatives. When consumed frequently, these compounds overload the kidneys, raise blood pressure, and make the cardiovascular system work harder. Constant intake of such substances silently inflames the body, creating an environment ripe for chronic disease. What makes things even worse is how often these cheeses show up in people's diets. They're in breakfast snacks, pizzas, sandwiches, and even hot dishes. This frequency makes their negative effects accumulate in the body, especially when combined with other processed foods. The body, with no time to recover, enters a continuous state of metabolic stress. But that doesn't mean all cheese should be avoided. Fresh cheeses like ricotta, cottage cheese, or good quality artisanal versions can be eaten in moderation and are part of a balanced diet. They have less saturated fat, less salt, and often provide high-quality protein and calcium. The key is knowing how to tell real from artificial and choosing what your body can actually recognize and process efficiently. As Dr. Tanaka always says, not all cheese is the same, and the industrialized kind is the one that takes the biggest toll on your heart. Cutting back on these products and replacing them with more natural options is a small choice on your plate, but huge one for your health. And the positive impact can be felt quickly, with more energy, less inflammation, and cholesterol under control. Number 1. Processed meats. To wrap things up, Dr. Tanaka was very clear about one of the most dangerous food groups for the heart: processed meats. Bacon, sausages, hot dogs, ham, and salami are foods that millions of people eat every day, often since childhood. But what seems like just a convenient breakfast or quick snack actually hides a real, proven threat to heart health, maybe one of the biggest among all processed foods. These products are loaded with saturated fats and nitrites, compounds used to preserve the meat and give it that pinkish color and smoky flavor. The problem is that these nitrites turn into toxic substances inside the body with inflammatory and even carcinogenic potential. Over time, this chronic inflammation damages the endothelium, promoting the buildup of fatty plaques in the arteries and raising the risk of heart attack and stroke. On top of that, processed meats are incredibly high in sodium. A single hot dog can have more salt than what's recommended for an entire day. This excess puts pressure on blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and forces the heart to work harder. And since these foods are eaten so often, in sandwiches, pizzas, snacks, or quick meals, the effects pile up fast, even in people who feel fine. Another issue is that these meats rarely come alone. They're often paired with white bread, ultra-processed cheese, sugary sauces, and bad fats. That combination creates a perfect storm of empty calories, inflammation, and liver overload. The liver, trying to manage all of it, ends up increasing cholesterol and triglyceride production, fueling a cycle that throws the whole body off balance. But as Dr. Tanaka always says, it's not about living in fear, it's about living consciously. Cutting down on processed meats is a powerful step. Swapping ham for shredded chicken breast or homemade veggie spreads is already a huge improvement. Using boiled eggs, natural tuna, or seasoned chickpeas are alternatives that offer quality protein without hurting the heart. Small swaps lead to big changes. And when it comes to cardiovascular health, every meal counts. Avoiding processed meats is one of the most effective actions you can take to protect your heart and give your body a chance to function with more balance, energy, and longevity. What seems like just an ordinary snack might actually be the turning point between illness and lasting well-being. And if you want to keep getting the best videos for your health, subscribe to the channel, because it exists for one reason only, to help you become a healthier person with a better quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video that's now showing on your screen, I reveal the truth about green tea. Drink this to burn belly fat while you sleep. Click on the screen and check it out.